Right now, we're living through a period of global uncertainty with rising costs of living, global pandemics and increasing climate-related disasters, but also living through a time of exceptional technology. And in this age of information, when people are unsure of something, they turn to Google. South Africans are no different. The search engine has been analyzing our search trends to gauge public sentiment on matters. To expand on the searches and what South Africans are feeling, I'm joined in studio by Google South Africa Country Director Alistair Mokoena. Mr. Mokoena, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. So what are we searching for? I'm sure South Africans seem a little frustrated at the moment in terms of what we're searching for.
Yeah, thanks very much, Masego. I think Google search is where you actually go to see what society is thinking about. We call it our zeitgeist. And what's happening is that we're facing a lot of uncertainty. I mean, we've just come out of our winter period where people were searching around coronavirus. We saw a surge in questions around what are the new flu symptoms, what are the new COVID symptoms, has the flu mutated? So people were actually starting to understand what's happening with coronavirus as a whole. We've also seen people doing searches around, what are the new COVID stats? So we saw the number go up by more than 100% actually versus last year this time. Yeah. So the one bucket is around coronavirus and health. What we've also seen is climate change because, temperatures have on average gone up by about 2 degrees Celsius across the world. We heard that Europe had their warmest summer. I've just come back from San Francisco myself, where even there they had unprecedented heat. We've also, just started getting into our spring here, and we anticipate temperatures to be high. So people are thinking about the impact of carbon emissions on climate change. They're thinking about what role can I play as an individual to actually reduce my carbon footprint. So that's kind of the one bucket, right, which is coronavirus and climate change. There's 3 buckets. The second bucket that people are searching around is about cybersecurity and privacy. Yeah. Now, you've seen a lot more people come online, right? So with internet prices slowly coming down, data costs coming down, and lockdown forcing people to turn to the net and businesses to turn to the net, we've seen much more activity on the internet. I mean, the internet penetration in the country has gone up from 64% to close to 80% over the last while. And people are searching for things like, how do I avoid phishing? So, and like things like what is phishing, particularly if I transact online. Yeah. Because if you're now starting to transact on e-commerce platforms, you worry about credit card details. Where will my money go? Will I be scammed? And searches around phishing have gone up by 80%, for example. But also people are concerned about privacy, right? Because you're thinking about what digital footprint am I leaving? Who's looking at my search behavior and all of that stuff? Yeah. So there's been a 30% increase in, sort of privacy searches and private browsing. People wanting to actually browse in private so that nobody knows what they're searching. So that's been the second bucket. And the third bucket has been about economic uncertainty.
I thought that would...
With the global recession that we're all experiencing, with the cost of living going up, with the war in Ukraine and all of that, and the impact on the global supply chains, we've seen prices go up. So people are concerned about economic uncertainty. Will I have a job? Will I not? And very importantly for our economy, people are searching around ways to save, start a business, and so on. So we're seeing 3 broad areas, but they all talk to the uncertainty that we're all experiencing.
Is there any group searching to find out where they can go live besides here?
So we haven't really seen that, but I think if you look at what happened last year, there was a lot of searches around where can I access the SASSA grant, for example, the 350 grant. Yeah. So people constantly search for information that will either save their lives, improve their lives, guide them on what choices to make. I mean, if I give an example about the carbon emissions thing, we as Google have introduced a new technology which is kind of it's linked to our Google Maps product, which is about giving you a route that's fuel efficient. Okay. Not just the quickest route to your destination, but based on the car model and spec that you have, we can work out what is the most fuel-efficient route for you from point A to point B.
Oh, that's excellent.
So not only are we saving you time, but saving you carbon emissions. But by doing that alone, you're able to save a billion tons of carbon emissions just by doing that. So that's just like some of the things we're actually looking at. But yeah, we're really excited about what can technology do to help direct people to credible, verified information? And whether that's about helping you get a job, come up with business ideas, or save money, or really just how to protect yourself.
And I mean, Google is the biggest search engine in the world. That's where most people go. And I'm hoping that at some point there'll be data that government will ask you to share with them so that they understand how frustrated South Africans are with the lack of service?
Yeah, so we have a relationship with government. So at the beginning of lockdown, government reached out to quite a few tech platforms, including our own, and said, let's innovate around an app that tells you about your exposure to COVID-19. Remember the COVID exposure notification app?
Yeah.
So that was part of our innovation. And then they also looked to us to provide anonymized community mobility reports, i.e. where are people moving to, and that comes from our traffic data, right? So there was also about if government is going to intervene by way of services, where should they direct their main efforts? So there was that. There was also a thing around, well, can we use your platforms to disseminate helpful, credible, verified information so people can actually get help? And I'll give you an example, a recent example, like in Ukraine, we've been helping communities there with information around where to find bomb shelters, for example. So there's a nice symbiotic relationship between government and tech companies because we've got access to this data, which is completely anonymized, which can help government get a sense of sentiment. But yeah, hopefully they're watching and they can see some of the search trends to understand how society is feeling.
Yeah, and when exactly do you correlate this data, for instance, to find out what people are searching for? Because I'm pretty sure if you're going to do this again anytime soon, you're going to find ESCOM being the most searched.
Correct. So we always do it around kind of the end of third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter, and we look at the last 12 months of search data. And it's really fascinating. I mean, it's the kind of things that you and I search for without thinking about it. And when you aggregate it, you realize there's a general sense of uncertainty now, and in good times there'll be a general sense of euphoria and optimism. I remember there was a huge thing around Jerusalem some time ago, or when you won the Rugby World Cup, then the searches will be around all of that stuff and social cohesion. But I think generally what you're looking at now is a period of uncertainty for a lot of people.
And hopefully you are able to help people find jobs, because I don't know if you saw the stats, they say statistics in terms of how the job markets in South Africa performed in the second quarter of this year. It was dismal. Our anchors, for instance, your industrialists and mining, which used to be our economic anchors, performed badly. So I'm hoping that will help. Thank you so much for speaking to us and for coming through tonight. That is Alistair Mokoena. He is Google South Africa's country director, speaking to us there about what you and I are mostly searching through Google recently.